Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants the good life. But let me ask you a question. How many of you are willing to do the same thing every single day, even when you don't feel like it? See, that's where the separation happens. That's where champions are born. Not on the days you feel motivated, not on the days you feel inspired, but on the days you're tired, frustrated, broke, doubting yourself, and still show up anyway. Consistency is the difference between people who dream and people who live their dreams. You don't become unstoppable because you're lucky. You don't become unstoppable because you're gifted. You become unstoppable because you keep going when other people stop. Most people quit too soon. They try something for a week, a month, maybe a year, and when it doesn't work fast enough, they walk away. But success don't work on your timeline. It works on its own schedule, and it only rewards the limes who stay in the game. Let me tell you this, your life changes the moment you decide to be consistent. When you wake up and do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, when you stop waiting on motivation and start relying on discipline. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. Discipline is a decision, and decisions shape your destiny. You don't need to feel good to do good. You just need to do it. Every small step you take daily is stacking up. You might not see the results today. You might not see them next week. But trust me, they are adding up. Consistency is quiet. It don't make noise. It don't show off. But one day, it speaks loud. One day, people will look at you and say, man, you got lucky. And you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was showing up when nobody was watching. You become unstoppable when quitting is no longer an option. When excuses no longer sound good to you. When you understand that your future is more important than your comfort. The road gets hard, yes. You will fall, yes. You will fall, yes. But if you keep getting back up, if you keep pushing forward, if you stay consistent, there is nothing that can stop you. So today I want you to make a decision, not a wish, not a hope, a decision. Decide to be consistent. Decide to keep going. Decide to show up every day for your dream. Because if you do that long enough, strong enough, and hard enough, I promise you this, one day you won't just be successful. You'll be unstoppable. Let me tell you something a lot of people don't like to hear. Talent is overrated if you don't have consistency. I've seen gifted people lose to average people more times than I can count. And it wasn't because they weren't good enough. It was because they didn't stay with it. Talent would open a door, but consistency is the only thing that keeps you in the room. When talent gets tired, when talent gets bored, when talent starts making excuses, consistency keeps moving forward like a machine that never shuts off. See, talent loves comfort. Talent loves applause. Talent loves when things come easy. But the moment it gets hard, the moment nobody is clapping, the moment progress slows down, talent starts questioning itself. Consistency doesn't ask questions. Consistency just shows up, rain or shine, good mood or bad mood, winning or losing. And that's why consistency wins in the long run every single time. Most people rely on how they feel. If they feel motivated, they work. If they feel inspired, they push. But what happens on the days you feel tired? What happens on the days nothing is working? What happens when life hits you hard? Talent sits down and waits. Consistency stands up and keeps going. That's the difference. Consistency doesn't care about your emotions. It cares about the assignment. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to be the most gifted. You don't need to be the fastest learner. You just need to be the one who refuses to stop. If you do something every single day, you get better whether you want to or not. Improvement becomes automatic. Growth becomes inevitable. And while talented people are waiting for the perfect moment, consistent people are building momentum. Let me be clear with you, consistency is not exciting. It's boring. It's repetitive. It's doing the same thing again and again with no guarantee of immediate results. That's why most people quit. They want fireworks. They want overnight success. They want instant recognition. But real success is built quietly, day by day, brick by brick. While nobody is watching, when talent gets tired, it starts negotiating. It says, I do it tomorrow. I deserve a break. I'll get back to it next week. Consistency doesn't negotiate. It has already decided. It already made the commitment. And once you make that decision, you remove quitting from your options. You stop debating with yourself, and you start trusting the process. Think about this. If you do a small positive thing every day, even when it doesn't feel powerful, even when it doesn't feel important, over time it becomes unstoppable. Consistency compounds. 1 hour a day becomes hundreds of hours. One small habit becomes a lifestyle. One disciplined decision becomes a transformed future. Talent might start ahead, but consistency always catches up and then passes it. People will look at you later and say, you're so gifted. They'll say, you make it look easy. They'll say, you're lucky. They didn't see the mornings you didn't want to get up. They didn't see the days you worked with no results. They didn't see the nights you questioned yourself, but kept going anyway. That wasn't talent carrying you. That was consistency holding you up. If you stay consistent long enough, you don't just improve, you become dangerous. You become reliable. You become confident. You become someone who can be trusted with bigger opportunities. Because the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards proof. And consistency is proof in action day after day. Let me tell you something about small daily actions, because this is where most people get confused. Everybody is looking for a big break, a big opportunity, a big moment that changes everything overnight. But life doesn't really work like that. Life changes in inches, not miles. It changes when you decide to do the small things consistently, even when they don't seem important. That's how massive results are built, quietly, patiently, and over time. Most people underestimate what small actions can do because they're focused on immediate results. You go to the gym one day and don't see a difference, so you quit. You work on your dream for a week and nothing happens, so you get discouraged. You save a little money and think it's too small to matter. But what you don't understand is that every small action is a vote for the person you're becoming. One workout doesn't change your body, but hundreds of workouts do. One page of reading doesn't change your mind, but reading every day does. One step doesn't change your life, but consistent steps change your direction. Small daily actions create momentum. Momentum is powerful because once it starts, it's easier to keep going than to stop. But momentum doesn't come from doing something big once in a while. It comes from doing something small all the time. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't have to do everything at once. You just have to do something today, then do it again tomorrow and the day after that. A lot of people wait until they feel ready. They wait until they have more time, more money, more confidence, more support. But readiness comes from action, not waiting. Confidence is built by showing up repeatedly. Skill is built by repetition. Strength is built by stress applied over time. When you take small actions daily, you are training yourself to become stronger than your excuses. Here's the truth. Small actions don't feel heroic. They don't make you feel special. They don't give you instant praise. And that's exactly why they work. Because while everybody else is chasing big moments, you're building a solid foundation. While others are jumping from idea to idea, you're stacking progress. And one day, all those small efforts line up and people call it success. Think about a drop of water. One drop doesn't seem powerful. Or a drop hitting the same place over and over again can cut through stone. That's consistency. That's the power of small daily actions. They wear down resistance. They break through limits. They reshape what once seemed impossible. When you commit to small daily actions, you remove pressure. You stop overwhelming yourself. You stop burning out. Instead of asking, can I do this forever? You ask, can I do this today? And most of the time, the answer is yes. That's how consistency becomes sustainable. That's how you keep going long enough to see real change. The people who win in life aren't the ones who start the strongest. I'm not talking ones who last the longest. They're the ones who didn't quit when progress was slow. They're the ones who trusted that small steps taken daily would eventually take them somewhere meaningful. While others were busy waiting for big results, they were busy doing the work. Over time, those small actions change how you see yourself. You start to believe in your own word. You start to trust yourself. You start to feel proud, not because everything is perfect, but because you didn't give up. And that self-trust is priceless. Once you know you can rely on yourself, you become hard to stop. So don't disrespect small beginnings. Don't ignore daily effort. Don't quit just because today didn't feel powerful. Keep showing up, keep stacking days. Because small daily actions repeated long enough don't just create results, they create a new version of you. Let me talk to you about discipline, because this is where everything gets real. Motivation will lie to you. It will show up when things are exciting and disappear the moment life gets uncomfortable. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when every part of you says stop. That's why discipline is more powerful than motivation, and that's why people who rely on motivation alone never last. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Some days you wake up feeling unstoppable, ready to conquer the world. Other days you wake up tired, frustrated, unsure, and heavy. If your progress depends on how you feel, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline creates stability. Discipline says, I made a commitment, and I'm going to honor it no matter what today feels like. A disciplined person doesn't wait for the perfect mood. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They move first, and the feeling follows later. Action creates energy. Action creates clarity. Action creates confidence. Waiting does none of those things. Discipline understands that feelings are temporary, but habits shape your future. Let me be clear. Discipline is not punishment. A lot of people think discipline is about being hard on yourself, but it's really about being honest with yourself. It's about keeping your word to yourself when no one else is watching. Every time you do what you said you were going to do, you build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of confidence. You don't get confident by talking to yourself. You get confident by proving to yourself that you can be trusted. Discipline shows up strongest when motivation disappears. Anybody can work when they're excited. Anybody can push when things are going well. But can you stay consistent when results are slow? Can you stay disciplined when nobody is clapping for you? Can you keep going when the only reward is knowing you didn't quit? That's where discipline separates the talkers from the builders. The truth is, discipline simplifies your life. When you decide in advance what you're going to do, you stop arguing with yourself every day. You stop wasting energy on decisions you've already made. You don't ask, should I do this? You already decided. You just do it. And that mental clarity gives you power. Discipline also protects you from regret. It saves you from looking back and wondering what could have been if you had just stayed consistent. Every small disciplined action is an investment in your future self. Even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels boring, it is paying you back in ways you can't see yet. A disciplined life doesn't mean a perfect life. You will still fail. You will still fall short. But discipline helps you recover faster. It helps you get back on track instead of quitting altogether. It teaches you that missing one day is not the end, but quitting is. Discipline keeps you in the game long enough to win. Over time, discipline changes your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. You stop hoping for change, and you start expecting results. That shift is powerful. Once you know you can push through discomfort, fear loses its grip on you. Here's the real reward of discipline. It gives you freedom. Freedom from excuses. Freedom from inconsistency. Freedom from being controlled by your emotions. When you master discipline, you master yourself. And once you master yourself, life gets real simple. You do the work day after day, regardless of how you feel, and eventually, the results have no choice but to show up. Let me tell you something about your routine, because whether you realize it or not, your routine is already deciding your future. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become successful or unsuccessful. You don't accidentally win or lose in life. You drift there through habits, through what you repeatedly do when no one is forcing you. Your routine is the silent architect of your destiny. Most people think big moments change lives, but it's the ordinary days that really matter. It's what you do in the first hour of your morning. It's how you handle distractions. It's how you respond when things don't go your way. Your mood changes every day, but your routine stays. And that's why routine is more powerful than emotion. If you let your mood decide your actions, your results will always be inconsistent. When you build a strong routine, you remove chaos from your life. You don't have to wake up and decide who you're going to be that day. You already decided. You already have structure. And structure creates freedom. It frees your mind from overthinking. It frees your energy for things that actually matter. Your routine doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. People quit because they think they need to do everything at once. They try to change their whole life in a week, then get overwhelmed and stop. But routines are built step by step, one habit at a time, one decision repeated daily until it becomes automatic. Let me tell you the truth, your routine reveals your priorities. Not what you say matters, but what you actually do every day. If your routine is built around comfort, you'll get comfortable results. If it's built around growth, discipline, and purpose, you'll go whether you feel like it or not. Your routine is your vote for the life you want. A powerful routine protects you from distraction. The world is loud. Everybody wants your attention. Social media, opinions, problems, drama never stops. If you don't control your day, something else will. A routine gives you direction. It keeps you focused when everything else is trying to pull you off course. When life gets hard, and it will, your routine becomes your anchor. On tough days, you don't rise to your goals, you fall back on your habits. That's why routines matter most when you're tired, stressed, or discouraged. They keep you moving forward when your mind is telling you to quit. Over time, your routine shapes your identity. You stop seeing discipline as something you force yourself to do and start seeing it as who you are. You become the type of person who shows up, the type of person who keeps their word, the type of person who does the work even when it's boring. That identity is powerful because once you believe that's who you are, inconsistency feels uncomfortable. Your routine also builds confidence quietly, not loud confidence, not ego, real confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can depend on yourself. Every day you follow your routine, you send yourself a message. I can be trusted. And when you trust yourself, you stop looking for validation from others. Here's something important. Success doesn't come from doing extraordinary things once in a while. It comes from doing ordinary things extraordinarily well every single day. Your routine is where that happens. It's where dreams are turned into actions and actions into results. If you want a different future, don't wait for a different mood. Build a better routine. Decide what matters, commit to it daily, and protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Let me tell you something about hard days, because everybody has them. The difference is not who faces difficulty and who doesn't. The difference is who keeps going when it shows up. Hard days are not a sign that you're failing. They're a sign that you're trying. Success doesn't test you when everything is easy. It tests you when things are uncomfortable, unfair, slow, and heavy. Most people quit on hard days. They quit when progress slows down. They quit when results don't match their effort. They quit when doubt gets loud. That's why hard days are so important, because they do the separating. Easy days don't tell you much about a person. Hard days tell you everything. On hard days, your mind starts talking to you. It tells you to rest longer than necessary. It tells you to skip just this once. It tells you nobody will notice if you stop. But here's the truth your future notices. Every time you choose to push through a hard day, you build strength that can't be taken away from you. You develop resilience, and resilience is what carries you when motivation is gone. Hard days teach you discipline in real time. Anyone can be disciplined when things are smooth. But when life